It's day 2 of a government shutdown, and so far no end seems to be in sight for a deal to reopen the government.
Yeah, so here's the state of play. A vote in the Senate to end the shutdown failed yesterday. Neither chamber going to be back in session until Friday. Healthcare subsidies remain the sticking point in the shutdown stalemate. Democrats want to extend tax credits that have made health insurance through the Affordable Care Act more affordable for millions of folks out there. Those credits are set to expire at the end of the year. So far, the president and congressional Republicans have refused to make them a part of the funding bill.
As that debate continues, there's the question of who's responsible for the shutdown. Both sides are pointing the finger, trying to score political points with their base. Washington correspondent Drew Petrimo joins us now with the latest on the fight. Drew, where are we at? What's the status?
Well, right now you have a lot of finger pointing, as you said, back and forth. For Democrats, it's Republicans don't want to protect your health care. For Republicans, it's Democrats want to give health care to illegal immigrants. Obviously, it's a much more complex issue than that. There's a lot at play here, but you kind of have both sides going to their corners and hurling insults at each other. But there are the underpinnings of some kind of an agreement. Again, we've been trying to squint and see where this ends for the past 2 weeks, really. And I think you can see it. It has to do with these Affordable Care Act subsidies, but right now, still a lot of finger pointing.
Right. Speaking of squinting, I was watching TV yesterday, and there was this big gaggle, bipartisan, on the Senate floor, Republicans and Democrats talking. I know Bernie Moreno, the Wisconsin senator, or Ohio senator, has said, look, there may be some more Democrats other than John Fetterman and Angus King and Casta who may ultimately come on board, but we know the House is still very much far apart. Hakeem Jeffrey says he hasn't even heard from the White House since that meeting on Monday.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to watch Virginia senators here. Tim Kaine also involved in those discussions yesterday. And the key sticking point is, you talked about Hakeem Jeffries. He has said that there has to be extension of these Affordable Care Act subsidies written into the bill. Republicans say, we're not going to do that. We'll negotiate, but only after the government opens back up. Well, you heard yesterday from Tim Kaine and others on the Democratic side, maybe they'd be open to some kind of an agreement to reopen the government, but an agreement with an agreement on a framework for how we're going to discuss these enhanced healthcare subsidies. So that's where the door is creaking open, but still a lot to be negotiated.
We're definitely already getting the blame game and also the name game. I've seen everything from the Schumer shutdown to the Trump shutdown. Everyone's, blaming the other side for the shutdown. Where are we at as far as how the parties are dueling about who's to blame?
Yeah, I mean, we had all these dueling press conferences and press availabilities. The vice president showed up at the daily
press briefing,
the press briefing, with Caroline Leavitt, and he leveled this claim on Democrats that this is their shutdown. They're the ones voting against it. They want to extend health care coverage to illegal immigrants, and so I think we actually
we do have some sound from the vice president.
Let's listen to the vice president.
So on the point that it's a Republican shutdown, look, it's obviously a Democratic shutdown. Just look at the vote totals in the House, look at the vote totals in the Senate, and look at the President of the United States' own action and conduct throughout this crisis.
So you have 3 Democratic senators, at least 3 senators that caucus with Democrats. Angus King from Maine is actually an independent. So far, they're siding with Republicans and voting for this Republican plan to open the government. It'll be very interesting to see. They need 5 more. Talked about the Virginia senators. Are there other senators that are feeling queasy about what's happening right now? And it's very interesting. You see that there's, unlike in previous shutdowns, the administration really targeting Democratic programs, Democratic states. We saw this cancellation of $18 billion in funding for New York transportation, really using those kind of maneuvers to put extra pressure on Democrats to come to the table and vote to advance this.
Let's look at sort of that dichotomy within the Democratic Party. Guys, go ahead and pull up the full screen of Hakeem Jeffries, what he had to say, and then get ready to run the John Fetterman shot after that. So Jeffries said clearly they wanted to shut down the government. Speaking of the Republicans, we're ready to work together, bring it back open, but to do it in a way where we enact spending agreement that is bipartisan and meets the needs of the American people. Here is what John Fetterman, the senator from Pennsylvania, has to say.
Anyone that follows our votes, it's like I'm voting for the Democratic CRs about the tax credits, but I've made very clear that we shouldn't shut the government down. And when the Republicans did that, we were very critical. So I think it's like I said, it's a core responsibility to keep the government open and functioning.
Republicans are hoping that sort of thinking sort of makes its way through the Democratic Party, especially in the Senate.
Yeah, one of the issues here, Fetterman's a bit of an outlier, but I think both parties are kind of comfortable fighting on the territory they're at right now. Democrats want to make this about health care. That's one of the issues where people think Democrats do the best. You know, that's one of their issues, that they are able to capitalize in elections. A lot of people trust Democrats on health care more than other issues. Republicans are making this, again, about illegal immigration, which is one of their best issues. So right now the parties are pretty comfortable fighting on this territory. As we continue with the shutdown, we see workers furloughed, we see government services cut, that pain starts to become more real. That is, I think, where we'll see kind of more pressure being put on really both sides of the aisle to come to some sort of an agreement that can get them out of the shutdown.
All right, Drew Petrimo. Drew, we'll see you next hour. Let's talk a little bit more about the message coming from the White House about permanent layoffs and not just furloughs.
Alrighty.
See you soon.